Hello YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Paul Ruiz, and today I bring you guys a completely new video with something that we haven't done here in this channel that I think is really nice to do, because we just had a really important match in the most recent Toronto Regionals this past weekend, a battle between Wolfe Glick and Marco Silva, two of the best players in the world. Wolfe being probably the most accomplished player of all time versus Marco Silva, one of the most, or probably the most accomplished player of this last season specifically. I think this is a really important match to watch. I haven't actually watched the finals, but I did watch the day one round 9 Swiss that they played, so I do have some context, but I wanted to bring you guys my honest reaction to this finals and give you some commentary on what is happening here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy, please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps me a ton. I want to get to that 1K subscribers by the end of the year, so I need your help for that. So I'm bringing this kind of content, and if you have friends that also you think can enjoy this video, consider sharing this video with them, because I think it's going to be really insightful for all of us to watch this battle between two of the strongest titans of VGC. So yeah, let's begin. We're going to get into the team sheets first. The team sheets are important because obviously that means that we have some context between these players, what they're thinking, what they might be considering bringing, what this strategy can be between them. So let's begin with Marco's team. Marco having a team of Ursaluna, Jumpluff, Charizard, Torkoal, Incineroar, and Porygon 2. Ursaluna being the Hisuian variant, not the Blood Moon one, being the physical Ursaluna that has the God's ability to get that 1.5 boost on the physical attack after being status, and has a Flame Morph to get that burn on itself, negating the burn reduced attack, by the way. Headlong Rush, Facade, Earthquake, and Protect. Facade getting double power because of the burn, so you have 140 base power move, normal move, so get stabbed on top of that 1.5 boost on the God's ability. That is ridiculously powerful. Has the Terra Ghost option to be immune to fighting type attacks, which is the only weakness that this Ursaluna has. And it has the option to be played in Tailwind and Trick Room in this kind of teams. It's a Sun Tailwind Trick Room team that Marco Silva has been using for the past 2 months or so. So I think most of you probably that have been following the scene already know this team. But Marco has decided to just stuck to it and continue using it because it has been working really well for him. We have a Jumpluff that has no damaging move. That is a main takeaway here. It has full support options: Sleep Powder, Sunny Day, Tailwind, and Rage Powder with Cover Cloak and Terra Water. The Chlorophyll ability means that this Jumpluff gets to +2 speed when the sun is up. So it's a really disruptive Pokemon. Jumpluff has access to other moves like Pollen Puff, Anchor, even Leaf Storm if you want some damage, but Marco decided to not go with any of those. He has been using this manual Sun option on Jumpluff because he has a Charizard. So I think the dynamic of the team changes quite a bit when you have manual Sun, so you don't have always to rely on Torkoal Sun. So I think that's really nice. The Cover Cloak means that you cannot be flinched by Fake Out, for example, so you have that turn 1 Sleep Powder pressure or Tailwind pressure immediately. And Rage Powder provides another way to use this Jumpluff sometimes. You can, let's say, use it to set up Trick Room next to Porygon, so you can either Sleep Powder and Trick Room or Rage Powder and Trick Room, so I think that's really interesting to see. We also have a Charizard, which is one of the main attackers of this team with the Solar Power ability in the Choice Specs item. In the Sun, this Charizard gets 1.5 boost on the special attack, on top of having the 1.5 boost on Fire type moves as well. So it's really powerful with Air Slash, Heat Wave, Overheat, and Weather Bow. Terra goes to be immune to Fake Outs when you really need to get that, let's say, really powerful Fire move or Air Slash in against teams that have Fake Out pressure, let's say. Really powerful Pokemon. Next to Torkoal, this team has 3 fire types. Torkoal having the option to obviously set up the Drought, setting up the Sun weather condition. With the Eject Pack item, it's not a Charcoal variant, it's a Eject Pack because that has a really interesting mechanic with the Overheat move. You have Helping Hand option, Overheat Protect, so the idea is like you set up the Torkoal sometimes and you get the Overheat immediately, getting a lot of damage into something, assuming your Sun is up, and then you get the -2 special attack, and you switch out because of the Eject Pack, giving a partner a free switch in, maybe next to Jumpluff, having to, the option to click Tailwind in attack or click Sleep Powder in attack, making it really annoying combo to face, with the Terra Fire for more damage when you need it, and the Helping Hand to increase a partner's damaging option. Let's say you have Torkoal next to Charizard, for example, is a nice move to have. And then we have Incineroar and Porygon 2. Incineroar being like the glue of the team. You have obviously the option to have Intimidate, Fake Out, Parting Shot, Knock Off Flare Blitz with Citrus Berry instead of Safety Goggles. And it has the option to also be used in Tailwind. In the Sun, Flare Blitz is going to hit super hard. I wouldn't be surprised if this Incineroar is a little bit more offensive than usual, because of course having the option to use it in the Sun. So maybe like an Adamant Nature Incineroar, maybe like a Fast Incineroar, who knows. Not Safety Goggles, instead is opting to go for a Citrus Berry to give it more longevity, which is really interesting. And Terra Ghost is a very nice offensive Terra for Incineroar. And lastly, we have Porygon 2 with the Terra Fighting option, Eviolite giving it way more bulk because it's a Pokemon that can still evolve, so giving it a 50% boost on its defenses. Download to give it a 50% boost on the attack or special attack, depending on the opponent's defenses. Terra Blast, Ice Beam, Recover, Trick Room, really consistent and common Porygon 2 set. This is Marco Silva's team. Now, the issue for Marco is that Wolf is using a Politoed with Gothitelle. We're going to get into the team sheet in a moment, but the Politoed Gothitelle combination can be really annoying because usually this team relies a lot on switches to position the right partner next to Jumpluff. And if you cannot switch because Gothitelle has Shadow Attack, it's going to be a problem. Now let's get into Wolfe Glick team sheet. Wolf has a team of Archaludon, Kingdra, Politoed, Incineroar, Gothitelle, and Amoonguss. So a couple of Pokemon we haven't seen at all in this regulation, but that have had a lot of success in previous years. For example, Gothitelle and Kingdra. Gothitelle being a Pokemon that Wolf has used a lot of the times when he has decided to go for a Peristrap team, which is what this team is about. But this is not a classic Peristrap in my opinion. Usually you see Perish song on more than one Pokemon when you see like a Perish team, but this one only has Politoed as the Perish song user, and instead uses Gothitelle as a way to obviously set up the Perish and trap things, but you also have really powerful attackers like Kingdra and Archaludon can benefit also from Politoed's range. So really nice take on let's say like a hybrid Peristrap team. We have the Archaludon with the Power Herb Sturdy. Even though you have Rain, Wolf decided to go for a more offensive Archaludon, not relying entirely on the Rain because of that Power Herb. You can even go for Electro Shots outside of Rain, which is really nice in some cases. Terra Electric to have way more damage output on your Electro Shots. Flash Cannon, Dragon Pulse, and Protect with Sturdy. Kingdra, a Pokemon we haven't seen at all in this regulation from my understanding, is back here because it provides a lot of offensive pressure given that it has the Swift Swing ability, and Wolf deciding to go for Kingdra instead of something like Basculegion is interesting. Like Kingdra has obviously Swift Swing, but Basculegion also has Swift Swing, but Wolf decided the Kingdra was probably better for what he was looking for. The Double Dragon option, Draco Meteor being also a nice move to have on such a fast Pokemon like Kingdra. Life Orb Terra Stellar with the option to increase the power even further on your stabs. Draco Meteor, Weather Ball, Muddy Water. In the rain, those Weather Balls and Muddy Water are going to hurt, especially if you have even a Terra Stellar boost when you need it. Kingdra being faster than Basculegion probably is one of the reasons why he opted for Kingdra instead of Basculegion, but Kingdra has spread attacks, Basculegion doesn't. That's another probably reason for that. And obviously Kingdra's special attackers is not vulnerable to Intimidate as Basculegion probably sometimes can be. We have Politoed, one of the stars of the show, because it has the Parry Song option here, Weather Ball to have that stab water type attack in the rain. Leftovers with Terra Grass, really interesting take because Leftovers is a nice item to have on any bulky Pokemon, but typically you see Citrus Berry on Politoed, but Wolf decided to give it Leftovers because the Citrus Berry is probably on the Gothitelle, and Politoed is a Pokemon that's going to be clicking status moves a lot of the time, so you can get that 6% recovery more times than just like the 25% burst you would have on the Citrus Berry. So I think that's really interesting. Weather Ball is the only damaging move. You have Anchor also to be disruptive when you need it, and Parry Song obviously is what makes Politoed to have a chance to do something on a team besides just setting up the rain, which unlike Pelipper is typically the Pokemon you see more when you want rain in this past years, but Politoed is a Pokemon that has these disruptive moves that Pelipper doesn't have access to. So really nice to see a Politoed here on this team. Terra Grass to make it immune to Spore, to Sleep Powder, and resist both Grass and Electric moves, which are the only two weaknesses that Politoed has. Incineroar with Safety Goggles, Fake Out, Knock Off, Fire Shot, and Protect. Every single member of this team, by the way, has Protect. That is one of the main roles that you want to have on your team when you are using Perish Song. Perish Song is a status move that forces every Pokemon that heard the song to go down after 3 turns. So you can easily switch out if you don't want to die, but the problem is with Gothitelle Shadow Attack, you cannot switch out unless you are a Ghost type. So the idea is obviously that you sometimes need to stall those turns, so keep the count on on your opponent's side of the field. So that is why Protect is really important in Pokemon that typically don't have Protect on the most common sets like Incineroar, for example. You want to have Protect on Incineroar. And Incineroar is really important in this kind of teams, in my opinion, because not only it brings Intimidate, Fake Out, which is really important to keep your Gothitelle alive for longer, right? Because you want to keep the Gothitelle Shadow Attack active as long as you can, so that way the opponent cannot switch out for more turns. And Incineroar does help in that purpose. But not only that, Incineroar provides Sparring Shot, so you can bring the Gothitelle, bring the Incineroar at some point together, have the option to switch out Gothitelle at the beginning of the turn, click Parting Shot to bring back Gothitelle in the Incineroar slot, so that way you have not, let's say, switch out the Gothitelle at the end of the turn, even though you did switch out at the beginning, but because it was brought back, the Shadow Attack is still active, the opponent couldn't switch out at the beginning of the turn, the game wouldn't allow them to click this switch out option, but because Gothitelle comes back at the end of the turn, it's still going to be there, so the pressure is really nice. And that's something that you can do because Incineroar has Parting Shot. So it's extremely important. Safety Goggles makes it consistent against Sleep Powder from Jump Love, or overall just Spore, for example, against any Amoonguss. And Terra Ghost is just very consistent. Not opting for a Flare Blitz option because this team has a rain component, so you don't have necessarily a lot of the times the freedom to click a fire type move in the rain. So yeah, really interesting take there on Incineroar. Gothitelle, probably the centerpiece of this team. I don't see any way that the Perish mode or the, let's say, offensive mode would work without Gothitelle in this matchup. Gothitelle needs to be brought so you can keep the trap and you can keep the opponent's pressure that they cannot switch out, but you can switch out. A classic Gothitelle: Protect, Psychic, Fake Out, Trick Room, Citrus Berry, Shadow Attack, as I said, with Terra Dark. I remember Wolfe used a different Gothitelle back at Orlando Regionals 2023. I think he had like heal pools in that Gothitelle, but this time he opted to go for something more consistent. No need to have heal pools when you have Amoonguss. You can use that Pollen Puff to recover your partner. Heal Pulse is not as good as Pollen Puff because Pollen Puff cannot be taunted. So that's another reason why probably he added Amoonguss to this team. And then Amoonguss, the last member of the team, I don't think Amoonguss is going to be brought to this match because it doesn't offer anything valuable better than the others. But it is a nice Pokemon to have in this team. It has Protect, Rage Spotter, Spore, Pollen Puff. You can pressure the Spore. You can pressure, obviously, the option to Pollen Puff and recover your partner. But it has a Eject button instead of something more traditional like Citrus Berry or Rocky Helmet or even Mental Herb that sometimes you can see on this Amoonguss. Has a Eject button. Probably the dynamic of the team changes a little bit with that item on Amoonguss, and probably Wolfe decided to use that item because there are some matches where that can help him to have a better position. Of course, he has been using pairs for a long time, and he is aware of all the, let's say, obstacles he might find, so he needs to find ways to overcome those obstacles, and the Eject Pack in Amoonguss is probably one of the ways he has identified he can play some matchups in a better way for him. So really nice item there on Amoonguss with the Terra Fairy option. Is really nice to have Terra Fairy Amoonguss because it allows you to play around King Gambit more consistently against Dragonite as well. So yeah, this is the team. And to give you a little bit more of context, guys, as I said earlier, these players did face day 1, round 9 of Swiss, and Wolfe won. And what Wolfe brought to those matches are just the same for Pokemon. He always led with Gothitelle and Kingdra and had Politoed and Incineroar in the back. And I think that lead is really consistent because you trap anything turn 1 and you can decide what to do based on what Marco brings. You can switch out the Gothitelle into Politoed, go for a really powerful rain boosted water move with Kingdra, allowing Kingdra to outspeed anything. You have the option to KO the Jump Bluff immediately with a Stellar Terra Draco Meteor, for example. Jump Bluff cannot protect. You also have the option to switch out into Incineroar if you see the opponent leads with something more bulky and maybe slow. for example, like P2 or Saluna, you can bring Incineroar. So I think that lead is really good for Wolfe. And from Marco's side, is really tough because I think Marco brought Torkoal in game 1, and Torkoal didn't do anything other than allowing the Jumpluff to have that Chlorophyll boost immediately. But that's something that Gothitelle can just easily fix by switching out into the Politoed, and then the Chlorophyll boost is gone. So I don't see Torkoal coming back, even though in game 1 of that round 9, Torkoal was alive until the end. It was an endgame between Politoed and Torkoal that Wolfe managed to win. But I think you have to bring Incineroar, in my opinion, if you are Marco, because Incineroar allows you to have the option to click Fake Out into the Kingdra, so your Jumpluff can get like a Spore in the other slot or Tailwind. It allows you to rotate against the Gothitelle because you have Parting Shot. You can even Terra Ghost if you want. The Ghost Terra on Ursaluna is also really important because it allows Ursaluna to switch out, and you need to find ways to switch out. So bringing Torkoal technically was one way because you can overheat, activate the eject back, but I think Incineroar is overall more consistent. So let's see how these players are going to approach this finals. As I said, I haven't watched the final. This is my honest reaction. I want to bring you guys a honest commentary to what I'm seeing here with you. So let's begin. This is game 1 of the Toronto Regionals finals between Wolfe Glick and Marco Silva. And we see Gothitelle and Kingdra being led for Wolfe Glick once again. As I said, he did on that round 9 Day 1 Swiss, and we see Jumpluff and Incineroar. This is the adaptation that Marco needed to make because Incineroar provides more pressure than Torkoal, in my opinion. You can fake out, maybe your Incineroar is faster than Gothitelle, you can fake out the Gothitelle, Sleep Powder, the Kingdra, or you can just fake out the Kingdra and the Sleep Powder, the Gothitelle slot. You can Tailwind, predict that the Kingdra would protect, and knock off into the Gothitelle or Parting Shot. As we do see the Gothitelle switching out. Let's see if this is Politoed. No, this time it's Incineroar. Maybe maybe Kingdra protects here, but I don't know if that gives Wolfe that much because you cannot fake out the Jumpluff next turn. So no protect on Kingdra's side. Marco decided to go for a Tailwind immediately, not fearing the Politoed switching anymore and getting the knockoff into the Kingdra's Life Orb. So this Draco Meteor should not KO exactly the Jumpluff anymore without the Life Orb, without the Terra Stellar. I believe Wolfe in that game 1 on the day 1 round 9 Swiss went for Terra Stellar Draco and got the KO on the Jumpluff immediately. So this is important to know because most of the times you have to keep in mind that these players already played each other, so they already know what happened on that previous set. So Marco tried to predict and being a little bit more aggressive this time, getting the Tailwind knockoff. Incineroar cannot fake out Jumpluff because it has the Cover Cloak, so you can easily go for a Sleep Powder into the Kingdra. Incineroar on Wolfe's side has safety goals, so no protect on Wolfe. Decided to just let Kingdra fall asleep, taking the risk. So let's see if Incineroar goes for a Parting Shot here. This could be dangerous because Wolfe is a really experienced player. So usually, what is Incineroar going to do here? He's going to Parting Shot. So you can just Parting Shot the Incineroar slot, predicting the Parting Shot, or knock off the Incineroar slot because that would get rid of the Eviolite on Porygon. Or, most importantly, the Flame Orb and Ursaluna can get actually really complicated here for Marco if Incineroar went for knockoff there. And there is a knockoff, so Ursaluna is not going to have the Flame Orb anymore. That was a risky play on Marco's side, but I think he had to maybe take that risk because otherwise Incineroar is going to be stuck there without doing much. The knockoff is not going to do much to the opposing Incineroar, and the Kingdra is also not going to do much because you already got rid of the Life for the previous turn. So Ursaluna unfortunately has to play without the Flame Orb anymore in this match. It's not going to have that extra 1.5 boost, and the Facade is going to be almost useless. Without the burn, Facade is only 70 base power. But it's still an Ursaluna. You can still Headlong Rush Incineroar. I think Headlong Rush would KO Incineroar anyways without the Flame Orb, so I wouldn't be surprised if Wolfe Terrasalizes here. You can also switch out into Gothitelle, but that's free damage for no reason. I don't think you want to let Gothitelle take that free damage, so I wouldn't be surprised if Wolfe goes for a Terra here. As we do see Marco switching out the Jumpluff for P2. Jumpluff cannot do anything else, so it's important for Marco to start putting pressure on that slot. So the P2 is the Pokemon of choice here. There's the Terra option. The Terra option on Ursaluna is in case Kingdra wakes up, and if Incineroar goes for a Parting Shot and brings Gothitelle, you want to be a Ghost type so you can have the option to switch out if you want later. I think the Terra is the right thing to do on Marco's side, and there is the Terra on Incineroar. No reason to let Incineroar take a super effective Headlong Rush when you have the Terra option, and no reason to let Gothitelle take a full power Headlong Rush even without the burn, it's still gonna hurt. So parting shot is probably what we're gonna see here. It still does around 65 to 70%, so that's a lot of damage. I would have easily KO'd Incineroar. Kingdra wakes up though, first turn awake, but Draco Meter into a what's the jump off -2, so P2 takes almost no damage. Kingdra at this point is -4, so he has to switch out next turn, I think. Parting shot into the Ursaluna. I think you bring Gothitelle here, right? You can also bring Politoed, but I think you can bring Politoed, click Parasol, and then switch out Kingdra into Gothitelle. But the Ursaluna is not going to be trapped anyways. You can trap the P2 though. But yeah, Wolfe decided to bring Gothitelle. You cannot fake out the Ursaluna, but Ursaluna is -1 Spadef due to that Headlong Rush. So I think Psychic is going to be a 2-shot from that range after the -1. Tailwind's still up, so you outspeed the Kingdra unless the Gothitelle switches out into Politoed. But Kingdra's -4, so I don't think Wolfe wants to keep it there. You can click Trick Room here with your P2 and keep this speed on your side. However, this Ursaluna might be faster, might be trying to be faster than Gothitelle, so if you Trick Room, Gothitelle might be slower than you. I don't know if that was revealed on the first set that they played on day 1, but maybe they already know that. So Kingdra switches out as expected. It was -4 anyways. I believe we're going to see a Headlong Rush into that slot. There's no reason to attack the Gothitelle because Gothitelle could protect. So Headlong Rush into what was a Kingdra, doing around 50%. So it's nice damage, but because of the -1 from the parting shot, is not doing that much. And now it's -2 special defense. So Psychic, it's not enough. Get the special defense drop on top of that. And there is a Trick Room. So now your Ursaluna is going down from anything here. You can switch it out if you want, but Marco didn't bring Torkoal this time, so no way to have weather control here, given that the Jumpluff is not in the field. And even though Jumpluff has Sunny Day, the option to Sunny Day, it's obviously not here. So you can double into the Politoed, but if Gothitelle is slower than Ursaluna, because this Ursaluna might be speedy to work in Tailwind, right? Ursaluna is just going to go down from Psychic, so I think a play Wolfe has is just Psychic the Ursaluna if he knows he's slower, so he would move first and click Parasol. There's nothing Marco can do to stop that. Or just click Weather Bolt into the P2 for damage. There's a Psychic. No Protect, so I imagine Wolfe knows that Gothitelle is slower. Terra Blast into P2 for some damage. How much is this doing? It is doing around 25%, not enough. And there it is, the Parasol. So P2 is on a timer now. 3 turns until P2 goes down. Ursaluna can switch out, but you can switch out into Instinct now to take the Psychic and click Terra Blast into P2. Remember that the Paris counter works for everyone, not only for the opponent, so you have to also keep that in mind. Sometimes you can let your partner go down and switch out the other, either the Gothitelle or switch out whatever is next to Gothitelle, or switch both, of course, whatever Wolfe thinks is best. So P2's on a timer, Ursaluna as well, but Ursaluna can still switch out if he wants because it's a ghost type. Terra Blast, maybe Marco's going to predict that the Politoed is going to protect here because it might go down from another Terra Blast. But I believe, yeah, I mean, it's a mind game. Politoed might also protect here just to be safe against some leftovers recovery. We see the Jumpluff switching in. Actually, Politoed switches out. This should be Incineroar, right? Yeah, it's into Incineroar, which is Terra Ghost, so the Terra Blast wouldn't do anything. So nice switch in there by Wolfe. Maybe Gothitelle just goes for the Psychic into what was the Ursaluna, because I think if they are making this play, they know that Ursaluna is faster than Gothitelle. So Terra Blast into the Gothitelle for very little damage. This Gothitelle is taking those hits really well. And now the counter goes down to 2 on the P2. So P2 is on a timer, is going to go down eventually. It's a really bulky Pokemon, so getting the Parasol into it is a nice way to get rid of it. Now, like, Jumpluff can pressure a Rage Spotter at least. Like, Jumpluff is honestly not doing anything. Like, you can try to Rage Spotter. Like, Gothitelle's going to Psychic here anyways. You can even Fake Out to get the KO with Fake Out Chip at this point. But Fake Out into P2. So Rage Spotter is going to do nothing here. Like, Psychic is probably was going to be into that slot anyways just to avoid taking the Sleep Powder on the Gothitelle. So yeah, now at least Marco has a free switch in here, but this is not looking great. Wolfe managed to trap the P2, and P2 is unable to get anything. Now, it's going to go down this next turn. Gothitail is also going to go down this next turn. So now you can make a prediction that Gothitail will probably switch out into something and double into that slot. But Wolfe can also just let Gothitail go down if he wants and try to win the game with Kingdra and Politoed. But I think here you have to double the Gothitail, predicting the Gothitail will switch out to try to keep it alive. And I think that's what Mark is trying to do. But Wolfe can just say, like, I think Gothitail going down is fine. Or he can switch out and maybe sack something else. Porygon is going down this turn for sure. The question is Wolfe going to let Gothitail go down? And yeah, it is going to let Gothitail go down. Wolfe thought, like, okay, I don't need Gothitail anymore. I'm going to get some damage into the P2 with Psychic, but Peach is going to go down anyways because of the parry, so that Psychic didn't matter at all. Terra Blast knockoff is not going to be able to KO the Gothitail, let's say, because the Citrus Berry already activated, so knockoff has reduced damage. So maybe it survives. Yeah, it does survive, but it doesn't matter because Gothitail is going down to its own perish anyways. So that is a decision that Wolfe decided to make, just to have better momentum, because Rain ends this turn, so you want to have a free switch into Porygon, to Politoed or Kingdra. And I don't know if Trick Room ends this turn. Yeah, it ends this turn. So now you have full control. Is 3 versus 2 basically, and Kingdra should just win here with Muddy Water. So you bring the Kingdra, you click Muddy Water, you switch into to Politoed. Or you can protect Kingdra and click whatever with Instant. So then you don't have to risk Muddy Water and just click Weather Ball with both Politoed and your Kingdra. But let's see. I think Marco at this point is Marco's only hope is that the Kingdra misses or predicts the Weather Ball into one slot. But I think if you Weather Ball here, just Weather Ball into the Incineroar. Let's see. Incineroar switches out. You Weather Ball into the Ursaluna, so maybe you could have predicted that and protect the Ursaluna and click knockoff into the Kingdra, but no, unfortunately for Marco, that didn't happen. The knockoff does come, but even if he went for that play, knockoff wouldn't have. I think he needed a critical hit, and even with a critical hit, that probably was not enough. Anyways, so this is game over. Marco is just going to click the run button, so really consistent win by Wolfe Glick. At this point, they're 3-0, let's say. Wolfe has won 3 games in a row. Marco still doesn't find a way to actually break through this perish and this option for Wolfe to just keep the Gothitail and trap Marco so Marco cannot move his pieces around. So really nice game won by Wolfe. Wolfe understands what he needs to do. He hasn't changed any Pokemon. He has brought the same 4 Pokemon in all 3 games they've had thus far. So, yeah, really, really consistent win. Let's get into game number 2. And we're going into game number 2. Kingdra Incineroar lead for Wolfe Glick for the first time in this set. And also considering the previous set they had, Wolfe is not leading with Gothitail. So, really interesting decision from Wolfe's side, not leading with Gothitail. Marco leading once again with his Jumpluff and Incineroar. So Wolfe is trying to anticipate maybe some sort of adaptation. I don't know if it was revealed. I mean, the Intimidate activation did reveal which Incineroar is faster. I just didn't catch that, so I don't know who is faster. But this is interesting because you have the option to Sleep Powder into Kingdra, and Wolfe's Incineroar doesn't have Flare Blitz, so Jumpluff is not necessarily worried about Incineroar. So you can fake out a Sleep Powder to Kingdra. If you want, you can try to Tailwind Fake Out if you also think like that's going to help you for later. But not having Gothitail is interesting. I think Wolfe didn't like the fact that Marco brought Incineroar in that game 1, so he decided to bring his own Incineroar. So there it is, a Fake Out into Kingdra, and obviously Jumpluff cannot do anything to Incineroar, so it's probably going to go for a Tailwind here. Yeah, there is a Tailwind. I imagine Incineroar is going to go for a Parting Shot. Oh, just knockoff into Jumpluff. Okay, some damage and trying to get rid of the Cover Cloak. So for a future time, you now can fake out the Jumpluff to stop it from moving. But you just go for a Sleep Powder into the Kingdra slot again. But I think, yeah, Jumpluff is guaranteed to be faster even if Politoed comes in. because Jumpluff is naturally faster than Kingdra. So with Tailwind support, it's always going to be faster than a +2 Kingdra in the rain. So yeah, Sleep Powder into that slot. It doesn't miss. Knockoff into the Incineroar slot. So now safety goggles are gone. So now you can technically go for Rage Powder or Sleep Powder into that slot for later. As we do see Parting Shot on Wolfe's Incineroar trying to reposition. The Kingdra is going to take a nap. It already took the first turn of sleep though because Jumpluff used Sleep Powder first. So Kingdra can wake up this next turn immediately. Let's see if Kingdra wakes up turn 1 similarly to what happened on that game 1. Gothitelle is brought here. Okay, so now you can fake out the Jumpluff because it doesn't have the Cover Cloak anymore if you want. Or you can protect and bring Incineroar on the Kingdra slot that is already asleep. So Jumpluff is not going to click Sleep Powder into the Kingdra, right? Although he is trying to catch that, I think. And he's going to Parting Shot his own Pokemon here because probably he was expecting a potential Protect. And obviously, it doesn't matter that you're dropping your special attack into Jumpluff because Jumpluff has no damage move. So really nice play by Marco. The question is here, does Kingdra wake up and get a water move into the Incineroar slot that is now the Ursaluna? It doesn't wake up this time, but because the Jumpluff was flinched by the Fake Out, given that it didn't have the Cover Cloak anymore, Jumpluff cannot do anything. Now, you have Tailwind up. And this time, Ursaluna does have the Flame Orb activated, so the Gods is activated as well. So, you could Sunny Day if you predict the Pokemon, like the Politoed is going to come into the Gothitelle slot and just click like Earthquake. I believe you have no downside of clicking that move, or you can just Facade if you want a guaranteed KO on the Kingdra. But I imagine Incineroar is going to come in here to intimidate the Ursaluna, right? So, really interesting play here from Marco. Marco's considering the Earthquake now instead of the Facade. So I believe this is either Incineroar or Politoed. It is Politoed. So a really cool play by Marco, covering that switch in. Even though the rain was not up, you want to click Sunny Day, anticipating to that potential Politoed switch in, right? So we see a Terra here is on the Kingdra, but Kingdra still cannot attack guaranteed because it might still take another turn of sleep. This is the third one if he stays asleep. Sunny Day covering for the Politoed switch in, getting the sun up so Ursaluna takes reduced damage. And most importantly, it moves first, so I don't think Kingdra survives this. It does survive. It does wake up and gets a Weather Ball off into the Ursaluna, but is now a Fire-type Weather Ball. It's still going to hurt though because it is Stellar boosted and is technically a coverage move for free because Kingdra is using the sun to get that boost on that Weather Ball, which is 100 base power and boosted by the sun and boosted by the Stellar Terra. I think it's 20% boost even further. So really nice damage there on the Ursaluna. However, you can just click Tailwind now and click Earthquake again. There's nothing that Wolfe can do to stop that. So really nice adaptation by Marco. Ursaluna and now the Jumpluff are able to just, I think, put a lot of pressure here. There's no reason to not click Tailwind Earthquake here, I think. You get damage into anything. You keep the Jumpluff alive for faster for later, even if Politoed protects or Kingdra protects and switches out and then like brings the Politoed again to get the rain. Jumpluff is always going to be faster than Kingdra. So Wolfe trying to go for a double switch here because with a double switch you intimidate the Ursaluna and Gothitelle might survive. So you now have option to fake out into the Jumpluff slot next turn. But I don't think Incineroar is going to survive the Earthquake. Let's see. Tailwind goes off. No reason not to do it. Jumpluff is a flying type as well, so you can Earthquake next to it because it's immune. And let's see if Incineroar survives a -1. It does survive with a sliver of health. Interesting. But I don't know if this is actually that good for Wolfe because if Incineroar would have died, you have a free switch into Politoed and you can click Fake Out into Jumpluff and Weather Ball into Ursaluna. But Incineroar surviving here is technically not bad, but you can honestly, you can even Terra the Ursaluna. Like the pressure is there. I don't think Marco clicked Terra on Ursaluna, but Wolfe doesn't know that. So you can Terra Ghost to avoid the Fake Out and just clip Earthquake. So Wolfe has to respect the Terra Ghost. So Marco knows that, so he's actually not clicking the Terra Ghost because he probably understands that Wolfe is going to respect that. Okay, so he didn't respect that necessarily, but the Sleep Powder misses on the Gothitelle for the first time. This is now interesting because, like, Marco could have avoided this by going for a Terra Ghost immediately, just click Earthquake, and the game, I think, was in his favor now because you just click Sunny Day next turn. You get a double KO, most likely. Well, maybe Gothitelle survives, actually, but now the Trick Room was set up, so you're in a tricky position here. I think if Marco just went for Terra Ghost, Earthquake game was over. But he was probably expecting the Wolfe was not going to click Fake Out into Ursaluna because the Terra Ghost was huge there. But Wolfe had nothing to lose, I think. So he just went for it. Now this is not looking great for Marco. You can go... I mean, Wolfe doesn't have Flare Blitz. That's right. You can knock off and Psychic, but instead he just went for Protect. Maybe Protect here. Yeah, Protect. Just trying to get some confirmation. Maybe Marco wanted to protect the... Oh, that's right. The Ursaluna is protected by Rage Powder because Incineroar's safety goggles were knocked off on a previous turn, so now you cannot just easily attack the Ursaluna. Yeah, that knockoff from Marco's Incineroar was huge because now, remember, if the Incineroar on Wolf's side still had the safety goggles, then you are stuck here. Like, the knockoff was guaranteed to go into the Ursaluna regardless of the Rage Powder. But because the safety goggles were knocked off, now you can Rage Powder Earthquake, and there's not much Wolfe can do to avoid that. Like, Marco had to take that additional step because he didn't tear the Ursaluna, but it's still fine for him, actually, because of that Rage Powder. Yeah, the Crick, even with a Critical hit, it was not able to KO the Jump Off. Jump Off is going to go down now, but it did its job. Earthquake should probably KO both. I'm not sure about the Gothitelle, though, because Gothitelle, I think, is out of range due to the Citrus Berry. Yeah, it is out of range. But you still got the KO on the center. Does Ursaluna survive this extra turn? Oh, actually, not even because of the Citrus Berry. I thought it recovered with the Citrus Berry. No, it just did less than 50% on the previous Earthquake because of the Intimidate. So that's a really, really physically defensive Gothitelle, I think. No, Ursaluna is not going to survive this turn. So now it's a 3 against 2. But I believe Gothitelle is slower than P2 was confirmed on the previous game. And Polito is so low health. Kingdra's still looking really good in the back, though. Is Marco going to have enough power to win this endgame? He has less Pokemon, but his 2 Pokemon are full health. Wolfe can protect here, just stall a turn if he wants. He can also switch something and protect the other. But I don't think you want to... This is tricky because you can double into something. You can also just split your damage if you are Marco. Kingdra is still, I think, full health or almost full health in the back. But Gothitelle's Trick Room is actually going to hurt the Kingdra now. So I think you just click Knock Off and Terra Blast here. It's going to knock off into the Politoed, but I believe this is a double Protect. Protect plays kind of safe here to stall a turn. Yeah. Protect. You don't lose anything. You stall a turn of your own Trick Room. I believe Gothitelle went for Trick Room, then for Psychic. So this is like, what, the 3rd turn of Trick Room? And, oh, Politoed reverse the Trick Room. Interesting. It reverses the Trick Room even though there's a Kingdra in the back. I mean, Politoed is faster than everything here. Maybe. But Porygon is now guaranteed to be faster than Gothitelle. I believe Trick Room was up. So, Porygon reversed the Trick Room here. I think Marco decided to go for a Terra Ghost on his Instant, which makes sense. Not because you want to switch out of Shadow Tag. Of course, you cannot switch out anymore. But because you don't want to be weak to Politoed or Kingdra. But the interesting part is that Marco is not attacking Yeah, knockoff is enough. So, okay, so that's why he went for that play. So, Incineroar on Marco's side was faster than Politoed, which makes sense because usually when you have when you have Paris on teams, you want your Pokemon to be slow. Oh, special defense drop. That can be huge because now maybe Kingdra can get the KO due to that. Okay, I said it was looking really healthy in the back. No, I was wrong. Kingdra is almost going down to its own life or maybe has one last chance. I totally forgot that. But Kingdra cannot KO both with Muddy Water. It went for Weather Ball, so I don't think that counts as your water move because it wasn't the sun. So you still have the Terra Stellar boost on Muddy Water. So yeah, it still has the Terra Stellar boost. Muddy Water should not KO Incineroar. Oh, and it almost KOs P2 due to that special defense drop from the Psychic. But that is a really, really clutch survival there. This is gonna be a win for Marco for sure. That trick from reverse was really interesting. At first, I didn't understand why, but then I started to think like maybe Marco's Pokemon are faster than Wolfe's Pokemon. I already knew that Gothitelle was slower, but I wasn't sure about the Politoed. But of course, they already knew that because they already played on the previous set. And that is a win for Marco. Really, really nice way to finally get a win off Wolfe Glick because, as I said, he had lost the previous set 2-0 and he already lost the first game of this final. So really nice way to adapt there. Marco decided, but I think Wolfe probably is maybe regretting a little bit to not lead with Gothitelle to keep the trap active. But maybe he had a plan and maybe that plan didn't go as expected. But it's also true that in game 1, Kingdra woke up immediately. And in this game, Marco had the advantage because the Ursaluna not getting the knockoff. So he still could use that Flame Orb was huge. Because that damage from Ursaluna is huge. And also getting the knockoff on the Incineroar was huge because that way Rage Powder from Jumpluff was still able to protect Ursaluna from attack. So really nice way for Marco to play this game too. But now let's get into the game 3 of this finals of Toronto Regionals 2025 and see how this game 3 is going to play out. And we have game 3 now. Politoed Kingdra lead for the first time ever from Wolfe's side. No Gothitelle, no Incineroar. Once again, Kingdra's led. But because Wolfe saw, I imagine that Marco didn't bring Torkoal in the previous game, he is expecting to not have to face a Torkoal anymore. So he's just fine saying like, okay, I'm going to lead with Rain because you don't have Sun in the back. That is the only game you won in the entire, let's say, tournament. And you didn't bring Torkoal ever other than that game 1 of that round 9. So I don't think you're going to bring Torkoal given that you won without it. So that is a really nice way to say like, okay, I understand what you did. I'm going to put enough pressure from the get-go if I want to. So Kingdra's going for a Protect. I imagine this is a double Protect. Nope. Fake out into the Kingdra. Is Politoed going to go for an Encore here, predicting the Tailwind? Tailwind, I think this is Encore into the Jumpluff. I think it's Encore into the Jumpluff. Yeah, this is Encore into the Jumpluff. That is a great play from Wolfe. Understanding that, oh, maybe you want to go for a double Protect because I can fake out Sleep Powder. And instead, Marco said, nope, I am not going to click Sleep Powder. I'm going to click Tailwind. And Wolfe reacted to that, saying, like, if you're going to click Tailwind, I'm going to click Encore into your Tailwind or whatever move you click. So that's a really nice turn 1 play by Wolfe. Now, the problem is you have to switch out. And what is your Incineroar going to do here? You don't have Sun. You have to Terra. Otherwise, Incineroar immediately goes down. And that means you cannot Terra the Ursaluna anymore in the back. And because you don't have the option to click Sunny Day with the Jumpluff due to the Encore, this is going to be really tough. You have to bring the P2. You cannot bring Ursaluna because you are risking a Muddy Water. P2 is tanky enough to take that Muddy Water, but not Ursaluna, of course. So now you Terra and you click Parting Shot. However, you can double if you're Wolfe into the Incineroar slot. Like Muddy Water, Weather Ball, predicting the Parting Shot, and you just... I mean, I imagine you're going to bring Jumpluff back here. You cannot bring Ursaluna on the Parting Shot. Weather Ball, okay, not Muddy Water, Weather Ball, because doesn't want to risk missing. That does almost 90%. That's a lot of damage. If Kingdra would have terrestrialized, Incineroar, even with the Terra, would have gone down. So that is the power of Kingdra in the rain. Parting Shot goes before the Politoed, of course. Incineroar is guaranteed to be faster than Politoed, even without the Tailwind. We saw that in the previous game. But now the question is, what is this Politoed going to do? You have to bring Jump Love. You cannot bring Ursaluna here. There is a Jump Love. I believe this is Weatherable. Yeah, doubling into the Incineroar slot for sure. Some damage into the Jump Love. Jump Love resists that, but maybe that is enough to be in range of Draco Meteor. Now, Jump Love is faster now. It's faster than Kingdra due to the Tailwind. You can Sleep Powder the Kingdra, or you can predict that and click Sleep Powder into the Politoed if you predict Kingdra would protect. But Wolfe hasn't protected Kingdra on the previous games. He protected it this turn, but I think you have to click the Sleep Powder into the Kingdra. The question is what to do with the Porygon slot. Porygon is not exerting any real pressure here. So yeah, Wolfe switches out the Kingdra into presumably Incineroar, which is immune to Sleep Powder. Yeah. Did he call that? Because you can call that. Like, you have to make a call here if you're Marco, because the turn 1 and turn 2 went completely into Wolfe's favor. You need to call the Kingdra protects or switches out, and you attack into the Ursaluna, into the Politoed, I think. But Wolfe is going to terrestrialize. This is a perfect play from Wolfe because you have no reason to let that happen if you have the Terra Grass available. So Terra Grass would basically stop the Sleep Powder for free, and you can just Weather Bolt into the Porygon. If that's an Ursaluna, you are in trouble. Let's see. Did he go for... No, he went for a Parry Song, actually. He didn't go for the Weather Bolt into the Ursaluna. That would have been a lot of damage, probably a KO. I don't know, because this Politoed doesn't seem to have a lot of special attack due to obviously being bulky for Perish. But that was super effective damage in the rain. Probably still would have KO'd. But no, of course, Wolfe didn't know if the Ursaluna was going to switch in or not. So now you have the Perish. And you can bring the Gothitelle and click Fake Out into the Ursaluna slot. The Ursaluna cannot Terra if you want. But you can Sleep Powder the Politoed if you're Marco predicting that. I would Sleep Powder the Politoed and Facade, but this is a tricky... Sunny Day, this is a tricky spot. Sunny Day, I think Wolfe's going to switch in Gothitelle. Nope. Fake Out there. You're going to click Sunny Day just to avoid the water move, Weather Bolt, into Ursaluna. And Politoed might click... Yeah, Weather Bolt there. Weather Bolt's still going to hurt, though. Well, not much, actually. Doing around 25%. So now the question is, do you bring the Gothitelle here? Because Gothitelle could go down to a Facade. So it's not an easy decision to make. Tailwind is over now, I think. We saw the message. So, is Ursaluna intimidated? I think it is. So... Well, yeah, Kingdra switched out first. So, no, it's not intimidated because Kingdra switched out first and Incineroar came in first. So, Ursaluna is not intimidated. So, you have full power Facade. But I think Wolfe just double protects here. Because Incineroar does have protect. So, I think you can just double protect here. Stole last turn off Parry Song. And then you put a Mind Game on the table next turn. Because there's no Gothitelle, so... Ursaluna can switch out. Yeah, protect from the Politoed. Is this a protect from the Incineroar as well? Yeah, protect play. So now it's basically a mind game next turn saying like, okay, the Parry Song counter is down to 1 for all of us, barring your P2. Are you going to switch out because you want to save your Ursaluna? And I can just switch out the Politoed and click Parting Shot so nothing happens. Or do you take the trade? I think Marco is willing to take the trade, saying like, okay, I'm fine losing Ursaluna. But this is a really interesting turn. Like, maybe Wolfe switches out 1. But Earthquake can be a huge. Yeah, you cannot lose Polito. That's the one you should never lose. If you want to lose something, you lose Incineroar. Okay, so Marco took the trade. Apparently, is going to Earthquake. That's not gonna kill the Gothitelle. Yeah, and Wolf said like, okay, we're both losing one Pokemon if you take the trade. I'm losing Incineroar, taking around 60% on Gothitelle, but Ursaluna, which is the strongest Pokemon on Marco's team, is gone now. And now he's stuck with a Jumpluff that cannot do anything, an Incineroar that doesn't have damage output into the Kingdra, and a P2. So I think this trade-off is better for Wolf. Like, even though P2 is full health, Politoed can Encore you if you click Recover or something. Gothitelle obviously can fake you out and click Perish. So I don't know if this trade was good for Marco in the end. Like, yeah, you lost. If you're a Wolf, like, you lost Incineroar. If Marco switch out the Ursaluna, you just Partial Shot that slot and nothing happened. But now is really tough because you have no damage output on that Jumpluff, and Incineroar is 40% health, and your main attacker, your main damage dealer, is gone. So how are you doing damage here? Like, being stuck there with two passive Pokemon like Porygon and Jumpluff is not a good idea because they can just Perish on you. Of course, not now because Politoed's not here, but let's see. So I think Marco is gonna hard switch into P2, and because like Gothitelle can switch out, set up the rain for Kingdra, and get a Muddy Water KO on Incineroar or Weather Bolt. So Marco cannot let that happen. P2 comes in. P2 is able to, obviously, to survive any attack here. Tailwind comes in. So this is interesting. Tailwind, Kingdra decided to stay in in the sun, clicking at Draco Meteor, doing around 50%. And I believe this is going to be a Psychic or maybe Trick Room. Okay, so the Tailwind doesn't help Marco at all. Like, it was a mind game because if Gothitelle switches out into Politoed, you want to set up the Tailwind so your Jumpluff is always faster than the Kingdra, even in the rain. But Wolf said, like, I'm going to go for Trick Room, get a Draco, and go for Trick Room. But, of course, Marco could have clicked Sleep Powder into the Kingdra. So there was a mind game there. Like, you click Sleep Powder into the Kingdra, Kingdra is falling asleep, and then you can go from there and just attack that Kingdra with everything you have. And then the game is down to 2 versus 2. You cannot just Parasol for free because if P2's there, you can Trick Room to always make sure you're slower when the last turn of the Paris comes in. And Weather Bolt in the sun at -2 is able to KO that Jumpluff. Using your own sun against you is what basically Wolf is saying here. Ice Beam is never going to be enough to KO that Kingdra for sure. And you cannot even get the freeze on the sun. So that Tailwind hurt Marco a lot, but it was a mind game because, as I said, like, the Tailwind makes sense if you're expecting a Politoed switching on the Gothitelle slot because Kingdra would be faster in the rain. But now that is hurting you because Kingdra now underspeeds you, I believe. So, and Politoed is still in the back. This is coming down to the wire. I don't see many things that Marco can do. Like, you can fake out the Kingdra and click Recover. But if Wolf switches in Politoed, it's game over. You Encore the Politoed. Sorry, the Porygon with Politoed. It's a tricky spot here because Kingdra could protect and switch Gothitelle out into P2 into Politoed, or switch Kingdra out into Politoed, or just not switch at all. But Kingdra is faster than Porygon because of the Trick Room. So Draco Meteor -2. Is it enough? It's not enough. It's not enough. I think you Ice Beam the Kingdra here. Kingdra dies, but how are you dealing damage to the Politoed? Ice Beam is the only option you have. But the problem is Politoed is full health. So if you Ice Beam, I just Anchor you, and then I Weather Bolt you. Okay, this is not looking great for Marco. I think this is game over for him. Unfortunately for him, that Tailwind changed everything in this endgame. If he would have just Sleep Powdered the Kingdra, I think he probably would have won here. Well, It's going to depend, of course, on this sleep turns probably. But now it's just not looking great. Just Psychic here. You just Weather Bow the Porygon. You are slower, guaranteed. So Weather Bow was always safe there. I don't think you need to Encore anything. Yeah, Weather Bow. You just win. You just Weather Bow Psychic. Even if you get a freeze here with Ice Beam, I don't think Porygon is going to have enough. He just went for Recover. Okay. Yeah, because Porygon is moving last here, but the Tailwind is over now. I think you just Encore. You Encore here. Do you Encore even? I don't think you have to Encore. You can if you want. You Encore the Porygon to Recover and then just click like Psychic multiple times with a Weather Ball, but maybe you don't Encore and you just go for attacks. I don't think there's any way Marco can win here, honestly. He's stuck here. I think the trade of losing Ursaluna on that turn was not something he probably needed to let happen. Psychic doing around 15%. Ice Beam into Porygon. He needs a freeze here. That's his only win con, honestly. No freeze. And no Encore. Weather Ball with a critical hit, that just steals the game. I think even without the crit, you just double into that slot next turn anyways. If you click Recover, like, eventually I'm going to outdamage you Recover. So Ice Beam is the last move that he wants to click, but is moving first. Weather Ball gets the last amount of HP on the Porygon 2, and Wolfe Glick wins this very intense set. Really, really nice played by Wolfe. Really good play also by Marco. Two really strong players. So that is the end for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving your support by leaving a like on the video. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Let's continue in a future time. See you. Bye-bye.